Okay, so we're live. What's up, Chip?
What's up, James?
So on your, I'm looking at my screen, and on the right hand side,
Yeah, I don't
there
have a
should
right hand side.
on really,
Really?
I don't know. I know I was maybe it's because I'm the computer I'm using or whatever. I know that
That's why.
when we were um when Jake and I would go live or whatever, I was able to see comments and stuff like that. So maybe it's
That's
something on
that's
your
a
end.
computer thing. Yeah.
So
No big deal. Once people come in, and if you see a comment, I'm gonna hit this button I see and see if I can see it too. If not, oh well.
um sounds good. Right now, it's just you and I. So, um,
Oh no, someone's messaging you. I just heard it.
really, um,
Why are you wearing that A&M shirt again? God damn it.
man, because I wanted to. Shit. So, what do you want to talk about retic wise tonight? Since it's kind of spur of the moment, man, we can talk about anything since it's not really planned or anything.
How about 49-foot retics in Indonesia?
49 foot. Wouldn't that be some shit? That would be some shit.
Well, in all reality, you know that me and Stephen Dawson researched the biggest retics on record, and no matter what anybody says, they have yet to show proof of a 24-foot plus retic out there. Could there be a 25-foot retic in the jungle? Absolutely. I mean, there. I'm sure there is somewhere that maybe it's been undiscovered, or there could potentially be. But as far as a documented, proven, verified animal, a little over 23 feet, has been the biggest on record, which is still a big animal. But there's so many claims in this community. I've got a 20-foot snake, I've got a 21-foot snake, and it's hilarious because my most famous or my favorite video of all time was Brady Barr importing a wild caught monster retic in Florida. And he's got a ton of people lined up and they measure it on camera, and they measure every time so you don't see if they're cheating or not. And it comes out to a little over 21 feet. And he looks right in the camera and says, "There's a lot of people out there that claim to have a 20-foot snake, but they'll never measure it on camera."
It's the truth, and the thing about it is, I learned a long, long time ago. People ask you, hey, how big is this or how big is that, and I always underestimate because just for the fact that people will call you out on your shit, and a lot of times
I
people
would.
will. Yeah, I know you would. Noah, Jake made a video and I made a video talking about um I guess us not doing this together anymore. There's no issues whatsoever. Jake is I've known Jake ever since he was a teenager. Uh, I think the world of Jake and his family. I consider him a close personal friend, um, family even, and it's our work schedules are just it's so jacked up. I get up at 2:30 in the morning to get ready for work. Uh, he usually works evenings and stuff like that, and it's hard on me to be up late at night and have to get up the next day, and so it's just basically scheduling and whatnot. Just makes things difficult.
Hi,
Um,
Zach.
and what's up, Zach? What's going on, buddy? But yeah, people, it's hard to gauge how big sometimes when you haven't been doing this for a while. You know,
A
when you haven't
17
been
foot
around them.
retic, 16, 17-foot retic is a massive snake.
Yeah,
And most of the time, the claims that I hear, of a 20-footer is usually about the 16, 17, 18-foot range. Some are even a lot smaller, but on a retic keeper. And then when I hear the 21-foot claim, it's never 21 foot ever.
No.
Uh, Probably there's two that come to mind for the largest in North America, and one is Fluffy, or not Fluffy, but Twinkie, T-Rex.
Yeah.
Hold on one moment. Twinkie was a massive A male that came from the very first litter of A males from Baldagos. It was literally one of the first three ever
Right.
produced visually. And the genetics in that animal is crazy because Amelia, the mother, was not that big of a snake, but Al and Cindy had tigers from Carl and Bob and stuff that just had massive genetics in it. And unfortunately, Twinkie's siblings didn't live as long as she did. So we don't know the true size potential of the siblings if they ever got that big. But before anybody says anything, yes, she was overweight, but her length was, a genuine 20-foot, almost 22-foot animal.
Right.
And then I know of a private keeper that raised a captive bred that was in that same length range. Now, there have been 21-foot wild caught retics brought into the U.S., but those are literal wild caught animals. But as for people keeping and raising, sure, there's been a few 20-footers out there. Bob's had a number of 20-foot retics.
Yep.
Everybody knows the Fluffy Tiger, which went to the zoo and was measured on camera. And a lot of people want to talk about Cassius and the retic at the zoo in Kansas, which is the current world record holder at 25 feet. That snake is nowhere near 25 feet. That's a 20-foot snake. They just make it look big. Me and a guy named Ryan Parker, for you new guys, back in the day, literally both of us contacted that haunted house, where it was kept, and offered to come on behalf of the retic community, measure it, and get some good pictures and have it documented. And their excuse to us was only the handler can measure it because she's so aggressive she might hurt somebody, even though she's got a bunch of pictures with a bunch of people. And we come to find out, just like most of the Guinness records, Guinness never ever once on any of the snake records went and measured it themselves. They took the keeper's word for it.
Oh, Jesus. That's stupid.
They never physically went and saw that animal and measured it.
Yeah.
It's just they called up the keepers. But, people are always hounding on me when I bring up the fact, oh, what do you care? What do you know? What does it matter? It matters for genetic reasons and size reasons. We still don't know. There is only one species of snake to been proven to hit 20 feet. One, and that is retics. The next largest would be green anacondas that Jesus Riveras measured a wild caught animal at a little over 19 feet long. Otherwise, Burns, 18 foot 10 inches. That lived in Chicago. And was claimed a lot bigger, but at death was at 1810. That's the largest Burmese on record. Jay might have one right now that comes pretty darn close to that. African rocks, again, nowhere near. Scrub pythons, nowhere near. But retics are the true giants on length in the snake world, and a 20-foot snake is very rare in any order. And, we hear things like Sulawesi's are the biggest. You can't say that. There's been the largest one on record isn't even Sulawesi. Has there been 20-foot Sulawesi's found? Yep, but there's been a whole lot of 20-foot Sumatrans and Borneos found, a whole lot, and Indos. There's been a Bali that's been 20 foot.
Large snakes, just large retics in general. I mean, it's just Just so hard to even come around, nowadays, with all the crossbreeding and everything like that, and I mean, I remember tigers back in the day. I mean, tigers always seem to get big, and
And that didn't
uh,
come from the tiger gene.
it it it's gone now. I mean, you don't, very seldom do you come across anything that big, like you used to. So,
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know about the origins of the tiger. The fact that that tiger lived in Minnesota its whole life. It was old when Carl Herman imported it. He assumed it was old. It was battle scarred, and at death, it was just a little over. It was a little over 12-foot male, and it wasn't a gigantic retic. It was beautiful, but those first genetics that the tiger reproduced that Carl and Monty did, Bob got some of those, and Monty had some of Bob's animals, and Al and Cindy got some, and Dave and Tracy Barker got some. And with the genetic set these people were importing on the females, you had these monster tigers that were getting huge. But, you know, unless that tiger was holding a hidden gene for females, I don't think that the size thing actually came from the tiger itself. Because I mean, if you look at some of Al and Cindy's super tigers, you to this day won't find super tigers that big.
mm-mm.
Al and Cindy had some of the most amazing super tigers on the planet. I believe Gavin actually has one of them, or had one
Jason
of them.
Jason had one. It was named T-Bird, and I minus the ones that Al and Cindy had. I've never seen a super that big. And it sucks, man, not to have the pictures and stuff. We had a picture, and that bitch was draped over my shoulders, and
Uh-huh.
it was so fucking big. Like, it was so heavy and so big. Amazing. And you don't see stuff like that. You probably never will, especially when it comes to super tigers. You probably never see anything that big anymore.
Oh
Just out of that
no.
morph. So,
And the same thing. Look at all the Bob's back in the day. All the Bob's female tigers and all of his big females that he had. I mean, they're monsters. These are 18, 19 foot animals. Um, and Al and Cindy, their tigers were huge and their stock was huge. And of course, Jay's known for his big snakes, but Jay will tell you himself, he doesn't have that many monster snakes anymore. Nothing like Twinkie. He's got a couple of big ones that are over 20 feet. But the genetics aren't there because everybody wants to mix everything, and you kind of it's almost the same concept of let's get the smallest super dwarfs and keep the smallest super dwarf line. Well, you keep mixing the smaller snakes up, it's your genetics are lost. We
yep.
don't have any new genetics here, but my whole thing is people get butthurt when I make a big deal. It's like I'm not trying to be a dick when you call your snake 20 foot, but if
Uh,
you've seen a 20-foot snake in real life, put it next to a 16-foot snake and
Hey,
you'll
I don't
be
mean
able
to
to
cut
tell
you
the
off. Let me cut you off, buddy, but look who's Jeff is trying to get on.
what?
I guess I'll add him.
Okay.
What the hell?
I copied the link. I'm techno savvy like that.
Oh.
What the heck?
Yeah.
I didn't think you were up for it.
Oh,
I
well,
wasn't, and then I decided to get the sand out of my vagina and participate. So,
I was really, really thinking that you were just all butthurt at me.
oh, not at you. Like Mondays suck, man. And with all the bad weather, which you guys are aware of, I'll try to stay centered. We had like 65 or so shipments that were waiting to ship today, and so we had everybody saying like, "Oh, hey, are you sending our animal today?" Like, yeah, we really want to. So yeah.
Well, here. How about this? We'll do a live with you. This will be good to bounce stuff off, and then we're going to do a whole podcast with no live interaction and just go about your history. But let's just have fun tonight and talk about some cool shit.
Yeah, because we were.
Is this okay? I mean, I can dip out. I copied the link that James sent and was like, okay, well, let's do
I'm
something.
smiling. You got me smiling and shit. So, no, you can't leave now. But introduce. This is Jeff Byers, man. Everybody.
Hi, everybody. I used to retic and now I just ball python. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
And carpets.
You don't have to worry about Gus running around and causing havoc right now.
You've got her busy in a larger cage, I hope, than with hawks. Excellent. Good.
This is awesome.
No, we were just talking about the history of all the crazy big genetics. And honestly, what's funny is Jeff here.
I don't know what to work. With my hands. Kidding.
Jeff got to work with some of the world's most famous big snakes and had to clean up their poop and move them around constantly.
Yep, shit the size of a loaf of bread. It was wonderful.
There.
Yeah, that's what we're going on. What we're just talking about, because we were just thinking of subjects and talking about how people truly, when they claim they have a 20-foot snake, they think they're 16 footers, 20 foot. If you've seen a real 20-foot animal in real life,
there's a huge,
massive difference. Massive difference.
I think one or two that Bob had actually were 20 feet. We didn't measure that many, but they were flipping huge.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Fluffy Tiger, the one that you with a lot.
I mean, I remember back in the day when Bob used to bring the Fluffy, 1, 2, however many Fluffies y'all had back in the day.
27.
You know, bring them out there and take pictures with.
Yeah, that I think the photo pit at the Dallas Metroplex show was where I met you the first time, James.
Yeah,
when we actually met like face to face.
Exactly, it was.
Years later, you said you were mad at me.
yeah. I was hot when I first met you. I was in my head. I was going to grab you by the throat, man.
You're not the first.
That's kind of funny, James, because the first time me and Jeff had interaction, Jeff wanted to whoop my ass.
God, all this violence. But
people have said that about me before, but years later they come back and say, you know what, Jeff, like you've been consistently an asshole the whole time, and I really appreciate you for that.
Well, I honestly, like, we were Chip and I were talking about, people have been around for a while and everything, and there's literally like I'm way up on the scale of things, and you, Tim O'Reilly, and Andy. I have so much respect for y'all guys. Even though that you're, dicking around with ball pythons now.
And green trees and rainbows and crested geckos and.
I just told James about that. He had no idea Mike moved to his own building, and I had to tell him what he had.
Oh yeah, it's huge. You guys ought to come by, come check it out.
That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind. I don't
pro that.
I don't know. I don't want to. No, I ain't gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
No, I wouldn't.
You kind of have to now, though, right?
No,
you can't almost say it.
I'd find it would be hard for me to concentrate, especially if somebody was there when we showed up. It would be extremely hard for me to concentrate. I would be catching myself just staring at that person. And
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it would be hard for me to not to pop off, and not in a violent way or anything, but it'd be hard for me not to.
You're talking about a sexual way.
Sexual way and start. I don't know, man. Dress your age, buddy. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you're thinking the wrong way, Jeff. No, not that person. Not that. I know what Jeff's thinking.
And I'm really confused. And we should just move to the next topic.
Yeah, let's move to the next topic.
You're used to it. That's why you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can tell me later what you're talking about.
We actually talked about it, Jeff. We did, but I'll refresh you later. But anyway,
Okay.
Jeff is a master snake keeper, whether he wants to admit it or not. He's a terrible boat driver, but he's an expert when it
You
comes
drive
to
a boat
keeping
for
snakes.
shit. Yeah.
I know, you almost killed us.
Why don't you give a little bit of history? I know this is not what we were going to do, but just so the people who are watching or will watch this that may not know you because they ain't been around too long.
Right.
You know?
Well, as a young teenager, I started becoming interested in working with reptiles and amphibians. Got a job at the local pet store here, Alligator Alley, that was like the bee's knees when it came to like a new thing or a different thing and oddball pets. Like there wasn't a lot of that, and there still really isn't a lot of that around here in Oklahoma City. Fast forward a few years of that, I worked for Tim Tidal Lizards, also in Oklahoma City. We have a plethora of large reptile collections in Oklahoma City, which is weird. So one of the largest collections of geckos at the time, a lot of Rhacodactylus, Hoplodactylus. That like I've had hands on Nautinus and Hoplodactylus and all kinds of other geckos that people just read about in books. And I was 15 years old taking care of these geckos, or at 16 to 18. I was at Tim Tidal Lizards the first time, and I've helped him out since then a few other times. They misschedule vacation, and my friend Larry, that's been there now for a really long time, like 20, 25, well, not 20 years.
Larry the fisherman?
Yeah, Larry.
Oh, I didn't know that's what he was doing that whole time.
Oh, yeah, Larry fishes. Great dude, big family, serious outdoorsman, but like scheduling gets crossed, and sometimes have to go help him get stuff done in the basement or catch up with baby fat tails or whatever. So like literally worked with like hundreds of thousands of geckos, lizards, snakes, a lot of pythons and boas for the most part. I've had a couple like normal jobs in between reptile jobs, but I mean, they're not much fun. So the next fun job was going to work. I worked for Mike Wilbanks for a year or so, and it was just on Wednesdays because he actually didn't have that many ball pythons or retics at the time. He had just enough to need like one person's help, but I couldn't be there every day. And he wasn't really wanting to pay me full time to be there, but he added another guy, David, whom works there again with me to this day as well. And so I would go do retics with David every Wednesday. And so David would take care of all the ball pythons and boas and other things. And I would show up to do retics so that I could teach him how to work with retics and not get killed. And, there'd be a second person there that, Mike wasn't obligated to hang out and stick around if he, wasn't able to do so. We could do the whole retic room minus babies, because David could do the babies on his own easily. So we did all the bigger retics in one day. That's how many there were. It was not that many. And fast forward to from Wilbanks, what was at the time Constrictors Unlimited is now Wilbanks Inc., to pawn shop, which was in the front. The pawn shop was the front of the store. Part of the back was the snakes. And so then worked at the pawn shop for a while, got fired, left, whatever, however you want to call it. Go on to, I was now in the reverse. I had been working for Bob, whatever my day off, we had like a mandatory day off from the pawn shop. And so whatever day off I had, I would go work at Bob's. And so I showed up at Bob's like the next day, like, hey, like, can I come work full time over here? He's like, yeah, but don't call me old, because that's sort of got me in trouble with Mike's dad at the pawn shop. Joe's a wonderful man. I just we didn't agree on life choices and whatnot at the time. But so worked for Bob for pushing what, Chip, 7 years, 6 years, some shit like that.
I thought it was about 7.
Yeah, I think
close to 8, yeah.
seven's pretty accurate.
The week you were with me was the last day that you worked for him, so that was.
Yes. Yeah, that was my. I quit. I put in like my 3 weeks notice because he was going to the ham show in Germany, and I knew that he needed the help back at the shop. And I said, "Hey, look, I know you got the show. I know it's a big deal, so I'll stay 3 weeks, finish up. You can count on me to do all the stuff while you're gone at the show." And so we did that. Came back, and then that's when I started working for Mike again. Before this current time.
And that was still Constrictors Unlimited at the time that you went
At the time, yeah, still Constrictors Unlimited. Only recently, in less under 2 years, did he rebrand to Wilbanks Inc. I believe it's around 2 years, maybe a little more, a little less. But yeah,
you forgot a part there in between though, Jeff.
Which part?
You worked on the Monarch project.
The what?
The Monarch project with what's his name?
The Monarch project?
Yeah, the Monarch Ball Python project.
That was just a side deal where like Rance is one of the most painfully nice people on the planet. He just refused, and I think to this day still refuses to have social media.
Yeah, you can't find him.
James, you probably met Rance at least once or twice.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't you?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know who he is. I know Rance.
Yeah, Rance did not want social media. I said, "You need a Facebook." He said, "No." I said, "Okay, can I build the Monarch Ball Python web page on Facebook? You know, like a business page." He said, "Yeah, sure. I'll send you some pics." And so tried to get some stuff done with that. He was generous, saying like, "Hey, if you could sell this and sell that, I'll give you a percentage and or whatever." And just it was very hard to sell someone else's animals on that type of like it's a new genetic thing at the time. So I was really having to work hard, and I wound up not selling any of them. And at the same time, though, he was wanting to move like the whole project, and he ultimately did find someone to take on the whole project, which was quite a few animals. But they've since left his place here in Oklahoma and are at their new home. I was gifted his old incubator and a snake rack out of it. So, I mean, still a little something, something.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now, what I wanted to bring up is back when you first worked for Mike, I know that definitely there'll be a lot of viewers here that will be completely blown away by this. And a lot of the old school guys already know this story, but most of the new people don't. You got to see the pied retic, the original pied retic at Constrictors Unlimited before Bob proved it out and did everything with it.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. It was a funny story, actually. The day that I saw it, Mike had it with one female or another or whatever. And as a dick move that backfired for him, he said, "Oh, hey, why don't you go ahead and grab him and go ahead and put him with this female tiger head or whatever other retic it was at the time. I don't remember." And so like I go and I pick him up, and I'm a little ginger, a little cautious with him, and he's not that bad. And I take him and I put him in the cage of the animal that he wanted him to go to, and he's like, "Huh, well, that didn't work." I was like, "What, was he supposed to bite the shit out of me or something?" And like he wasn't that bad. The original pied was mostly wiggly. If you put yourself in a position to get bit, yes, he would try and bite you, but he was pretty easy to avoid. He was like lanky and wiry, one of those ones, and wild.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know because they see all these morphs and they didn't know that 90% of the new keepers don't know that Mike was involved with a lot of groundbreaking retic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact is that's part of the reason that people were doing this podcast is to educate a lot of things. And there's really no better person that's willing to talk to everybody than you. And like the Jamp stuff. Mike was big into that.
Oh yeah, he bought out Al and Cindy's group of wild caught champeyas. Bob had his own. I don't know if that one animal had any correlation with Al and Cindy's group. I think he got his separately, but I don't know that for a fact. But I do know that we got two wild Jampias that were some that Al wound up breeding at some point more than once, and several of their daughters and a male. And then we had a super tiger from Al already, before I started working for Mike. That was like his. This is how long ago it was. Okay, a super tiger was a crown jewel of this collection. Like that was E's knees with this 15, 16 foot super tiger. It was a very beautiful animal. Those first ones that Al and Cindy made were really spectacular super tigers. We've seen some shit super tigers since then, but some of those early ones are just great.
Yes, sir.
Lots of melting pattern, not a lot of excess, color from bleeding from the bottom to the top of that. Just nice buttery yellow the whole way. Pretty cool.
It was funny. We were literally just talking about Al and Cindy's super tigers and who had them and how big they were, and you don't see that anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, some of the ones that haven't been around that hopefully see this. It's even cool for me, and probably for all of us, just knowing what's all out there now. Everything that has been produced, and to sit there and think about how, just like you said, at one point in time, man, if you had a super tiger, you was the shit, and it's just amazing where we are now.
Yeah, my first retics were a pair of tigers, and I did the thing that I have told thousands of people not to do. I went to Bob's. That's not the bad thing. I went to Bob's and I bought a 11-foot, 28-pound female tiger. It was my very first retic. And then, like a month later, I had talked to him a few times after that, and he had found a 6 or 8 foot male that would work for me. And so I came back and I bought that. So my very first retics were, an adult male and a subadult female. And like we tell people, just get a baby one, raise it up. And I did the thing I tell people not to do.
Well, we have to, it's people like us that did stuff like that basically fucked up. But we gained a lot of knowledge and hands-on experience, and it's people like us that went through that can honestly say, no, you start out with a baby, so somebody had to do it. So.
Mine was a 14-foot wild-caught yellowhead that wanted to kill me.
Yeah.
Most of those first yellowheads, they really wanted to kill people.
Yeah, none of them were nice. None of them. Son of a bitch. None of them were. So
yeah, you've had your hands on some of the most famous animals on the planet. Like there's a picture on your Facebook.
The type 3.
No.
albino. That was a cool thing.
It was, but the original lavender male. There's that funny picture where you've got your hands around it and it looks like it's trying to bite.
Oh yeah. Well, that damn snake has been around so many people. That snake didn't like me for whatever reason. I never wronged this snake. That was the old man. That's what we affectionately called him around the shop. He actually got, I think, for a large size retic, like he got better care. Like he got doted on. I mean, just a little bit more like, oh, hey, like the old man's cage is dirty. Be sure we get that, before the end of the day. Yeah, no problem. Like just, I think we were paying him a little more respect of like what that singular snake did for retics. And so we took good care of him. And that shot was actually, I was soaking him in a CB70 because he just magically fits in the CB70 and just a couple gallons of water. Once you have that much retic in the CB70, it doesn't take that much water to soak him. And, towards the end, he had some bad sheds. And so I had to, stop what I was doing a lot and go kind of pamper him and soak him. And that was one of those days. And he was just done with me trying to hand shed him. So I'm sitting there holding his head pretty lightly, honestly. And he just starts gaping his mouth. And I was like, oh, yeah, take a picture of this. This is going to be cool. Take a look. And so that's how that picture came to be. He's not like, I'm not like clutching his neck when he's not resisting. He's just like sitting there with his neck in my hand and just gaping. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what people that don't know Jeff, I mean, in all intents and purposes, he might be working with nothing but ball pythons, but he's been around some of the most important retics, founding retics of all time.
Bob's hypo is probably my favorite, hands down, over the years. James, you remember the first time you guys saw that one?
That was crazy. It was like, what the fuck is that? What is that? Yeah.
I'm gonna take some credit for getting that snake like handleable for a wild animal. That was pretty good. That was one of my favorites that he had up there because she was just so striking. And I'm glad that it's. I mean, I'm not glad it's taken a while, but I'm glad that he's finally, been able to grow up the very few hets that she would give us and start actually getting that gene out a little bit.
Yeah, first of all, I think most people that know me understand that I'm not a smiler. I don't smile a lot. I'm all smiles right now.
Yeah, you're not a smiler.
There's only a couple people that really make me smile, and I don't know. There's so much stuff going through my head right now. Questions,
nostalgia is washing over you.
Yeah, I mean, it's you talking about that albino. How important that one animal, was or is to what we do now. Think of the tigers, all that stuff.
The genetic stripe that started.
Yeah, I mean,
the stripes, amazing. I love the genetic stripes. I'm sad that I don't think that stripe ever gets the recognition among retics that it should, because it's really an incredible animal and an incredible story to. He had the female and located another male, and they were incredibly similar. We bred them together, and I was actually there for the first time those two adult animals were paired, and we produced the first 100% pure stripe to stripe babies. I think Jim bought a couple, 2 or 3, maybe not those very ones, but maybe the next clutch.
Jason fucked me, basically. I'm just gonna say it like that. And at the time, I didn't know Jason, and Jason didn't know me. Like, we didn't know each other. But this was at the time when I was buying a bunch of stuff. I was buying a bunch of shit from Bob, and I wanted a genetic stripe, and he had one available. And at that point in time, Jason had already made a couple trips up there, and Jason ended up getting her. So I was never let him. I was always upset about that. Always upset that I didn't get that animal. But
yeah. As well you should be, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but to get back to what you were saying, I mean, just a regular genetic stripe when they're fired up is one of the most beautiful animals that you can look at. Yeah,
they were one of my favorites to work with, and the male, neither of their attitudes were real bad. Some of the het offspring though were a little cunty, but again, they're probably a dwarf. Bob never got that information. It was speculated up and down that they were Solaires or they were this or they were that. Bob didn't have any of that data, and he was honest about that from the beginning. Like, hey, I don't have that. They're probably a dwarf, which the wild female, I don't think she got over 10 or 11 feet, and the male was smaller. He was like pillowcase size. He was 7 or 8 feet, not big. So anything huge like that has been bred out from the original G-striping it, they're probably Slayers, or they're probably Bally or something, you know, mid-size.
Well, yeah,
But
because look at the female. That yellow head on her was just
so yellow,
crazy.
incredibly yellow.
Yeah.
And even the Jets would have that just incredible yellow head.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So-
speaking of which, you know, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to. Locality is a big deal now. You know, there's a lot more information, and I just wanted to touch on that. Back then, I mean, because I know I had bought like ungodly amount of Super Dwarf stuff from Bob,
Mhm.
and you know that's always, even to this day, you know, there's people that will want to argue and fight over the locality and this and that, and it's like nobody knew really.
Right. And not everybody knows this part. They tried Mike and that was a Mike and Bob deal too. They tried to get the locality data out of Duncan McRae, Herbendo, her whatever his company is now. And I bought a pair of super dwarfs from Duncan himself off of Kingsnake. And one of the reasons I did that, I had to go to Dallas to pick them up because I didn't have a broker and I was a fucking noob about the whole thing. I had no idea. So it's like, Bob, what do I do? He's like, well, you're going to have to go to Dallas and pick them up. I was like, fuck, okay, I got to go to Dallas. Anyway, I emailed Duncan myself and said, hey, you know, like there's this kind of this thing, like people in America kind of think you know, but you're not telling us. Like I was trying to do the chummy email that like in 3 emails, like we're supposed to be buddies, you know, but I was like, hey, so like, what's the name of the island? Like you can tell me, like, it's, I mean, not a big deal, right? And he's like, there's no name to the island. And there's exclamation point, exclamation, exclamation point. And he flat out refused to tell anyone if that island was even named. And that's probably named. He just didn't want people to go there and circumvent what he was doing. Because at the time, he was like the biggest deal exporting out of that area.
I mean, a lot of the exporters were kind of famous for not telling where they came from. Look how many stuff comes out of Indo, and everybody's like, oh, this is an Indo reef. No, it just happened to end up in Indo, and nobody's telling you where they grabbed it from.
Right.
Then why would they? You know,
they're securing that's their livelihood. I mean, that people, some of the newer people on the nation, like, don't get it. And it really irked me a long time ago. And I'm not even on the nation every day about like being a little bit more respectful to our overseas retic keepers. Yes, these guys can keep them like in a cage on their back porch. You know why? Because like there's a wild one 40 feet the other way. It's okay. Not a big deal. And it's a different cultural thing over there to have those snakes and not skin and eat them. That's what they really want to do. The bulk of retics that leave Indonesia are in skin form. They are Dunsky. We are lucky to get the live ones we do, or did.
How dare they not spend 2 years worth of salary to buy a vision cage to put that animal in?
Right.
You know who would be good right now, since we're talking about dwarfs and shit? You know who would be great to have on right now? I wish I would have thought about it. You know, fucking Rob Clark.
Rob motherfucking Clark. You had to bring him up.
I could not. I can't.
Expect great things. Expect great things.
Fucking dwarfism.
Okay, new topic. Done with Rob Clark. I had to talk
Shit
the day, and like I told Chip about it. Like he gave me flashbacks from the other day when he was going on, and I actually chimed in on what was it, like a week or two ago? No, I don't know.
No, it was longer than that, Jeff. The one I sent you, or the one
where I typed up and told him like, oh hey, no, that's not a thing. He was talking some shit about, oh, maybe it was the Type 3. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was the Type 3. Yeah, how he remembers how Bob did this, that, and the other.
Yeah. I had to house the type 2s and the type 3s as far away from each other as possible so we wouldn't get them mixed up. Amels and type 3. Sorry.
Yeah.
But dwarfism.
Dwarfism. It's
gotta weigh them shits.
Het dwarf.
Fucking weigh them.
You don't have a super dwarf unless you weigh it.
Well, then the very first ever Motley Sunfire Tiger Het albino retic that Bob ever produced would have been a dwarf because it was out of a boob egg and it was like 30 or 40 grams. This thing was teeny. We had to baby that snake super hard to get him to the status that he later was. That was a dwarf. Try that.
Well, nobody.
Mom wasn't 18 feet long in a mainland. Yeah, whatever.
Well, also nobody in the U.S. has any super dwarfs because unless they went over to the islands and picked them themselves, they actually don't know that they have a super dwarf.
Is that some other shit he says? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Noah says Rob Clark is my boy. Noah, I'm sure he's a great guy. In all reality,
you see comments. I want to see comments. Are you
look at the little chat button on the bottom of your screen, Jeff?
Chat button bottom
on your right hand side.
Chat.
I don't know if it's just my computer or
comments. Ooh, comments. Hey, there's comments. All right, get to see stuff. Rob Clark is my boy. He shouldn't be, Noah. You gotta pick better friends, buddy. Hey, James and Chip. Zach, no love here. No more Jake. Jake's gone to greener pastures and other channels, and we wish him well.
Whenever
you want.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
So anyway, tell us about your greatest retic experience. Literally something that actually really was just like amazing to you in all the times you've worked with retics.
I crappie fished a retic out of the ceiling once.
Go on.
Okay, so there I was, right? This is the old shop before the fire, and we had lost a 14-foot sunfire male. Sweet snake. He just didn't want to be in his cage. And we had deduced that he had to have gotten up in the drop ceiling above. And Rance and I were looking around for him. And I was standing on the fluffy cage. James, you remember the great big huge wooden cage? Mm-hmm. I was standing on top of the fluffy cage, and my probably like chest up is what's up in the drop ceiling. And I see Rance. He's in the next room over. The ceiling was all connected because it's just like it was just a little mini mall. So all the ceiling was the same thing. They were never supposed to be snake breeder buildings, but they were. So Rance actually popped up like one tile away from the face of the snake, and he's oh shit, and popped back down. And I could not figure out how we were going to get this snake out of the ceiling without destroying the ceiling. So we had a friend there, Rick. He actually works for Bob now, washing tubs. Rick was an electrician at the time, and he said, "Hey, I've got some nylon cord in my truck. You think you can do anything with that?" I was like, yes, I can. So I had Willis go get me a large rat. We PK'd that rat, and I strung his legs up with the nylon twine. And I couldn't have done this better if it was a fish, right? So I just do a little like a twirl, twirl, twirl cast. I put the rat just within inches of the nose of this sunfire retic. And I did a little, wait, where's my hand? Tap, tap, tap. And he grabbed it, wrapped it up, and I yanked the cord to me. He didn't let go of the rat. I now had this ball of 14-foot sunfire retic in my hands. I'm standing up in the ceiling. I didn't know what to do. So I took him and I actually shoved him down through the ceiling. So now he's on my feet on top of the fluffy cage. I picked him up by like, this was a cool snake. So I didn't have to, worry about him too much other than he is in food mode. I was worried about him dropping the rat. So I grabbed him. He actually belonged a room over from the main room. And so I drug him. I was holding him by like a foot or so behind the head and just, he wasn't resisting at all. Drug him back to where his cage was and put him in another cage. I forget if he busted out of one or something. That snake will never let go of that rat the whole time. And he ate that rat through that entire ordeal, getting yanked over to me, pushed through the ceiling, fall on the ground. I jump down on the ground, get him, put him back, eats the rat. He's happy as a clam. That's one.
And I know there's many, many more.
There's a few other ones. There was another, and usually they're like escape stories, because you would be surprised like how much a like 15 or 16 foot retic can actually hide like in plain sight when they're just sitting there motionless.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a picture of it somewhere, but I found a 15-foot lavender albino stuffed every centimeter of this snake that you could stuff in a shoebox baby rack. Like it wedged itself in one shelf. So there's 15 foot of retic in a space like this big. I'm out of frame now, but like a CB70 wide amount of space, and getting that wedged out of there, pain in the butt. But yeah, finding retics was probably the highlights. It was like figuring out where they hide and how to reacquire them.
How about cutting eggs? Anything that made you excited?
Well, any of the really exciting ones, Bob told me like, oh yeah, I won't cut them till tomorrow. And then like he would cut them like that night or in the morning before I got there. Not like everything, but like there was a couple, like the first pieds, obviously like he wanted to see, and I don't blame him. But I was hoping to see the one too, But a lot of firsts over there, Motley Sunfire, Fire Tiger, all the Motley stuff early on was like a pretty big deal with everything. And then we were just gene stacking Motley, Sunfire, and Fire, or Platinum as some folks call them, just all over the place, making great combos. The Sunfire, Fire, Super Tigers stand out. Those were one of my favorites personally. Yeah.
Hey,
a lot of neat retics. I love retics. I really do. I learned being there that I didn't want to have that many. And I've often thought of like having one male as a pet, but then at the same time, like, I've got carpet pythons for that kind of big snake feel without, getting all crazy and having another 16-foot retic ever again.
Well, at least twice a year you lecture me about how many I got.
Well, yeah, you have a raging fuck ton of retics, and I am still not totally clear on how you pull it off, but you do, so, whatever. You have to clean 17 cages a day, every day, no matter what, or else it goes to shit.
Yep. But since James brought up your favorite person, are you too good with the whole Motley Tiger thing? Since I'll bring that nice little dig up again.
Oh,
that didn't bother me none. It is what it is. I mean, Jason never said anything to me, so I didn't know any better. It's whatever.
And it doesn't. I mean, they weren't even my animals. I mean, and at the time, Bob was like, but whatever. He didn't really care. And but I didn't even know that's what it was until Jason posted his first Motley Tiger. I was like, ooh, that kind of looks the same. And so I called Jason, or texting. Like texting wasn't big back then yet. So I think we talked on the phone or something about like, hey, we've got this animal over here, and And it's weird that he didn't prove out het pied. So this female tiger het, that was later the mom of the rest of the very first tiger double het pied motleys and all that stuff later, not motleys, double het pied albino, excuse me. That one snake was bred by the motley at some point, and like we switched it over to being the pied, and the pied wound up fathering 99% of the clutch except for this one weird looking baby. You know, we talked about this the other day, so like it's all whatever. But like I didn't know what it was until Reed posted his, the ones that you guys had hatched.
Yeah,
like,
well,
and just like the Jaguar retic, we called him at the shop. We called him the Czech because Mike and Bob got him from this dude in Czechoslovakia, and like they didn't remember his name. They've never seen him since then. Whatever, but that Jaguar retic looks a lot like a genetic stripe. I mean, I'll say that. And so, since we were kind of the house that was a genetic stripe, everything that there was pretty much at the time, Bob thought he was a genetic stripe. And so for a couple years, we had that snake just kind of hanging out in a 4-foot neo, sucking down rats and not doing a whole lot until Nerd hatched their baby jaguars. And I think I text Andy about, because he and I would communicate now and then. I still consider Andy like a good friend, even though we don't talk all that much. And he's gone the way of dog training and whatnot. He's still an incredible wealth of knowledge on the animals. But I told him, I was like, hey, like we have a snake that looks damn near exactly like that. He's like, no, fucker, you don't. Like he's always talking shit. We would talk shit to each other. And so I took a picture of that snake and I texted to him. He's like, oh shit, it does. And I showed the pictures of Nerd's babies to Bob that day when they hatched him out. It's like, hey, this is the check. This is it. We have to breed this snake. We have to breed the snake. And I'd been working on him for a couple of years to try to breed this snake just to see what it was. And if it was truly a genetic stripe, okay, whatever. Now we know. But it wound up being another jaguar that he'd had for a couple, 2 or 3 years at this point. And that was at the time of the old shop. That was he got that snake pre-fire. He was down in another room. That snake was not at risk ever for anything. But that dates back to the old shop.
Do you ever think about as long as you've been around, I mean, like that's something that kind of slipped through your fingers, you know what I mean, when it comes to the breeding and whatnot? I mean, I know.
Well, I mean,
nope.
I did not have quite the creative input as I'm going to say this. Bob was very generous on listening to ideas, and like, a couple panned out, a couple didn't. Okay. And like and I could tell like when he really was not going to flex on an idea, like, hey, like, let's try and do this. No, I don't want to do that. And after a while I was like, Jeff, we're not doing that. It's like, okay, now he's serious now. I'm not gonna poke the bear anymore. But he did listen to a lot of different ideas, and we worked on some of them, and some went well and some not so much. So it is what it is. And I think there's tons of stuff like that. There's people that have had projects like sitting on the back burner and not realize it, or just didn't put the right 2 animals together for years. I was actually, just before I decided to log in here, I was watching Mutation Creation of Billy Rowe talking about how he had Monsoon and all his stuff. And it was just on chance that it was that animal that he got from Tom Baker back in the day. And
that's what I was telling you in that conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that he's on right now, but I'm glad that he did that. He did this video for me to watch like right before logging in here, something relevant to the conversation. Like this stuff happens all the time. Like last season, we hatched at Wilbanks Inc. We hatched a hypopide, like out of nowhere. Mike doesn't have any hypopides, so like it just happened. We hatched. I don't know what that means. Somebody's vibrating or something.
That was
I don't
me.
know. Well,
Stop.
thought my
Stop.
shit was broke.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the same concept when Carl got the Tiger way back in the early 90s. He just
Yeah.
thought it was a cool retic. I mean, he didn't think anything was, special. But think if Monty or Bob wouldn't have pushed breeding it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like the Tiger, like, Tyree, if you're watching, tigers are amazing. But the Tiger paved the way for all of retics. Like everything we have now could be accredited to the Tiger, sheerly for giving retics like a little bit of sunlight to show that, hey, they're not all chainsaws. Some are, and that we all have. I don't, but I've had chainsaws. And all you other retic guys, you have like those couple, 2 or 3 that are just fucking cunts, and they're not gonna be nice.
Blonde Tiger.
Yeah, there you go. So, but the Tiger showed people that like, hey, these can be bred, these can be handled. They're not all assholes. Like, hey, like this is kind of a cool snake to get into. They get 18 feet long. Okay, well, let's see how that goes.
Yep.
But now, like, I totally support the push to kind of get everything dwarf or mostly dwarf or half dwarf, reduce the size. Because I always told people, and plenty of retic guys have retics because they're like big snakes, and that's okay. Yeah, big fucking surprise. But the mainstream public, if you're looking at it as a business, you've got to scale towards the dwarf end of stuff, because not everybody can handle a 14, 16 foot retic. I mean, you guys know it's a workout. Like one that kind of doesn't want to do what you want it to do can really like kind of run you down big time, easy. And 16 is not big. 16.
One of the things that we're going to do in our private podcast, we're going to get to know you better, is I want to bring up the fact too is all 3 of us have been in the game for so long, but nowadays, and a lot of people won't get this reference, James probably won't, you definitely will, is the retic community has become a lot like the muskie club and the muskie community.
Who has biggest fish? I have biggest fish.
We got a question.
Biggest fish, wow.
Noah, he wants to know how many clutches have all of us made?
Countless.
Because I mean that's
him working at Bob's and his personal untold number.
just my personal retics actually wasn't that many. So 1, 2, maybe like 5 clutches of retics just like at my house, just my personal animals. And then tigers, super tigers. I did make one gigantic clutch of het stripes that I think Gavin Bowie still has 1 or 2 of. If he didn't, I think he told me that last time. But yeah, that's when I thought het stripes would be cool. And she laid 60 eggs, and like nobody wanted them.
You think about like at Mike's and at Bob's, just talking, about you, the animals that you help breed, the animals that you put together and whatnot, all the clutches that you pulled.
It's insane to think about.
It's insane. It's the same amount.
It's not a stretch to say, like, over the accumulated time from, we'll say, like the adult years of like 18 to now, I might have had hands on like 500,000 snakes at this point. Like and that's not a crazy number.
No, that's
I think
thousands and thousands and thousands of eggs. Like
probably the only person more than you would be Tim O'Reilly.
Yeah, Tim, I wish I knew Tim at all. Like I think we've exchanged one or two comments on Facebook at best. But yeah, like Tim could easily have me beat just time wise, and it's absolutely not a competition. But Tim has a silly amount of experience.
Well, technically, you've been around longer than Tim. Well, technically, you actually have been around longer than Tim has, because by Tim's own interview, when he started working with big snakes, you were working with big snakes before Tim.
Okay, so it's at least probably the same, let's say. Whatever.
Just the number that Jay produces is what I'm talking about.
The silly number of animals that like most people can't wrap their head around. If I tell people like, yeah, I've fed probably 200,000 snakes this size of mouse or rat, like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, no, you don't fucking have an idea of like the number of snakes. It's just insane.
How many clutches have you made?
Me?
Chip? Yeah, like how many do you think
I don't like talking about it, but Jeff, believe it or not, has been on a few different video chats of me pulling eggs and me breeding. And it's funny, there's times where I'm like, I don't think this female's ready. I don't want my male. And Jeff will be on the phone with me. Just throw it in. It'll be fine. And sure enough, boom, they locked up. And, I've known Jeff for so long, and he's helped me out, even though I've had snakes forever. There's tips and tricks that this man knows that nobody knows about. And I can tell him the most vague situation or send him the most blurry picture, and he'll be like, oh, yeah, boom. And then it gets it done. But I mean, clutches.
Well, in those cases like that, like the worst thing that can, as long as you're not throwing two males together, obviously that's terrible if you want to do that. But if you're throwing a male with a female, like the worst that's going to happen is what's already happening, which is nothing. Now, and then they tell you what's going on. She wags her tail, pisses everywhere. She wants nothing to do with him. Take him out. But a very valuable thing just happened. She now knows that there is a virile male in the area. And like they don't understand they're in a cage. A lot of times they're just okay with it. Sometimes they're not. And you get animals that press their faces and try to bust out screens or sides or glass or whatever. But like now she knows that in her territory there is a male around, and that simple act, even though she wasn't interested that day, we saw countless times where we throw male in, and we knew which males were like a little more amorous than others. Like we had a fire tiger male that was just, he didn't really accept no for an answer. He just kind of did what he wanted to do. But we would put certain males with females just to get them worked up. And like, we're not even going to breed that male to that female, but we would get her going with this male that was definitely going to throw arches. He was definitely going to spur and like shove her around a little bit and let her know that he's around. And that just gets them going. And so the worst that can happen really is she wags her tail and pisses everywhere. And clean the cage and clean sheets, try it again the next day or the day after.
Yes, sir.
And it can, like you guys know, it can change like the next day. She can be not interested and 24 hours later locked up.
I've been on the phone with Jeff where we're having phone conversations, and of course I'm always cleaning, switching animals, doing whatever, and I'll get lit up. And Jeff is such a nice, great, helpful guy. Instead of saying, "Are you okay?" he starts busting out laughing as hard as he can.
That's what you get.
Yep.
Have big snakes, get big prizes.
It's always a good time. Any other questions from our audience here?
You know that since there's not many people asking, once this video is posted, you're gonna fucking get 1 million friends requests and 1 million questions, Jeff.
Oh,
that's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, especially after the real interview that we do, so
yeah.
It'd be more in depth.
We do want to remind everybody.
Again, it's whatever.
So
Well, I do want to remind everybody, Jeff does not work for Bob right now. He works strictly with ball pythons. He's got a wealth of knowledge of retics, but he's got a full-time job breeding and dealing with ball pythons. So try not and just flood Jeff with every retic question you've ever imagined in history.
So
I'm not here for retic questions. I'm here for like retic nostalgia, like the old days.
Right.
we need to be at a strip club then.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Not the like the.
Bad for you, good for you.
Yeah, Jeff
Man.
and I's experiences are a little bit different than your and James's experience.
Yeah, like hanging with James and Bebo and Jason was all good times when we went out. It's very different.
Yeah, catastrophic injuries with me.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time. God damn it!
Well,
all there is
We
to
all
it.
gotta get together one of these days.
Arlington, the weekend of the 24th is the reschedule, I believe, for
Yep.
NARBC.
Yep.
So we'll be there with bells on. Mike's annexed like part of the building for all of his tables. So
James
yeah,
is
well,
gonna come there with slick back hair and a Ed Hardy T-shirt with his washed out jeans in style.
No, he's not an Ed Hardy kind of guy.
James, he's gonna be. He's got a new
James.
influencer.
James might be. Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh my god! I don't. Whatever. Hey, as long as he's happy, whatever. I don't.
Excuse me.
Who am I to judge? Whatever.
So, is there anything that you would like to touch on, Jeff?
I mean, there's so much over the years. It's kind of like what do you even? You already talked about like there's got to be like touch on some of the clutches that were just like really exciting to you, or even the ones that you maybe didn't care for. That
the most like mind-numbing clutch was the double het blonde and type 3 animals that we made, because we bred a male double het type 3 blonde to a female double het type 3 blonde, and we got type 3 AMLs. Or was it the Clark? It may have been Clark albino and blonde. I don't know, but there was double hets, and we decided, look, we're going to use these as het blondes, and we're never doing that pairing ever again, because we couldn't figure out what any of them were other than the ones that were obvious. Yeah, it was Clark and blonde, but we couldn't pick out the ones that were just Clark or just blonde, and sure as shit couldn't tell the ones that were double if we had the doubles anyway. So those wound up being het blondes, and we just used them for that.
So, were you around with the very first blonde clutch?
Yes.
So that had to be amazing to see all whitish, white phase looking snakes hatch out from these dark animals.
Well, that was around the time period when I actually started there full time, and these animals were a couple of months old, I would say. They were already in CB70s, and they were, I'm going to say, like 3 to 5 feet long, any of them, for the most part. They were just filling out the box nicely, really. And they were still just white and orange, because, back in the day, you remember Bob had posted about hatching them, and that like they were gonna hatch, they were gonna come out, and then like we never saw anything, because they came out looking like type 2s or type 3s, AML type 2. So we weren't really sure what to do with them, and we were hoping they would change color. And finally, some months later, I don't remember how long or if there was a catalyst or whatever, they started changing color, and it wasn't even the biggest ones that started changing the color. It was some of the smaller ones that were on the bottom of the rack where they were. And it was Gavin some time later pointed out that his blondes that were low on the bottom, like cooler by the floor, those are the ones that were changing color first and the darkest, because they were naturally cooler than their brethren that were higher up. So those animals that got cooled off faster are the ones that changed color first. But we had to play a trick on Rance with the blondes changing color, because I owed somebody a favor for a prank that I had ruined, because I was the new guy. I was like, hey, there's a guy hanging out under that cage, and the guy was trying to scare Rance. So we took one of the blonde retics and moved it to another rack, just got it out of there. And I put a CB70 back in this rack with my Venomoid Cobra that I had at the time. And so I put it in this rack, and we set up this prank, really elaborate. We're trying to get Rance, and he's very hard to get. So I run in there. It's like, Rance, the blondes, they're changing. You gotta come look. You gotta come look. They're changing. It's amazing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let's go check it out. We go in there, and there's like I can't believe he didn't know something was up, because there's like 6 dudes behind him to open this box. And this is about like for most mortal people, like belly button level box. And he goes to open it like just barely. He's like, no, open it. And I slung the box open. You couldn't have paid the Cobra to perform better. He popped up, hooded up, whipped around a 180 and charged Rance at the front of the box. And we're holding him up by the box so that he's like right, basically face to face with this Cobra, almost shitting himself. It was fantastic.
Holy shit. Jesus.
Yeah.
I would have shit myself.
Pants, because he had a 4-foot albino monocle Cobra like almost in his lap.
God dog it.
We had fun. We had a lot of fun there.
See, this is what a lot of people don't get to hear about, and that's one thing that I do miss about the old days, is all these cool discoveries, all these true, what I call true world's first, not world's first crossing morphs, but seeing the world's first of a trait being hatched, the funny shit that goes on, the trials and tribulations. But it's not that way anymore. It's kind of predictable now.
Yeah, it is. And I don't keep up with everything in the retic thing anymore. Like, I see the marble stuff. That's really cool. Doesn't Aubrey have some of that?
This guy up here's got a bunch of it.
Hey, yeah, that guy. Over there.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, that guy. Oh, good. That's a cool gene. I like that. And there's, what is it, Ocelot or something?
Ocelot,
that's Aubrey.
Rainbow.
That's
Aubrey.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That's
that
a cool thing. That is a cool thing. I like that. I kind of want a Jaguar. I think one of the, like, if I get one, go to Bob and go pick out a male Jaguar to like have as a pet, and just have a little ding dong Jaguar.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I like them, and stuff like that. I think it just gives them character. People hate on them or hate on the spider balls or whatever. Like, it's a thing. It just comes along with it. If you don't like it, don't get one. That's cool. But if you like them, just like them because you like them. When people ask me these days, it's about ball pythons for the most part. But they're like, well, what should I get? What should I breed? What should I keep? It's like, very first, get something you like, and then that will foster your interest into other things, because you've got a pair or 2, 3 of this thing that you really like, or you got a visual and 2 hets for this. That goes across the board. Any boa or python, just start with something you like, and that will foster you along to either tell you like, hey, like, you only ever want 2 retics, or you want 312 like Chip has. I know it's not
That's
really
awesome. That's awesome, Noah. Noah just let's see. He said Jag can't be touched, and he's making a shitload this year. That's awesome, Gene. I love them. I think they're extremely cool.
I do too.
Some of the albino Jags are they're really beautiful.
I need to look into it more, because when about the time I left Bob's we had the clutch in the incubator, and I later came back not that long to help him with something. You know, we were on decent terms and still are. And I'd gone over there to help him look at a clutch or something. He wanted some help. So I went over there, and I was like, oh, hey, like, did those Jags hatch? Like, yeah, here, check them out. And he had I think they had just shed like that day or the day before. So got to see like the brand new baby Jags in just single gene Jag form. That's it. And that's the cool one. I'm sure a lot of the combos are great with them and whatnot. You know, Mocha, Motley Jag might be cool. Noah, yeah.
That's going to be a good looking snake.
All those are good looking things. So I'm sure
the Fire Tiger Jags that Bob produced were gorgeous. I would love to see blonde, because purple Jags are cool, but I would love to see a blonde Jag.
Yeah, that reminds me of the blonde genetic stripes. Yeah. Those were amazing. And we hatched one. And then the next year was like another one or two. Just, you know, so hard to hit that combo when dealing with double heads.
Yeah, I remember when he hit the 2 and he was selling the 1, and I was trying to get the 1 because I had some money in my pocket, but I didn't have that much, and he wouldn't budge off of it since he only had 2, and I never got that animal. I wish I would have come up with a little bit more money.
Yeah. I'm extremely happy with Jake. I love that he loves the blondes and that he's working with the blonde gene. You know, can't wait to see some of the stuff that he's going to be producing. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's definitely underrated.
Definitely, well, I enjoyed the blonde tigers, supers, all that stuff. The blonde genetic stripe was really that was a snake that I feel personally like I toiled over for us to make the one that we did. And, you know, a lot of prep goes into these retic clutches, and so much energy that female puts out. And you gear up for this for 9 months. Come on, just do that thing that you're programmed to do that one time. I know it's been 4 years since you hatched, but it's time. And she slugs out. Or whatever, or you get a perfect 28 egg clutch, whatever. Hopefully everybody gets that first clutch, but my first clutch was a slug out, so I think everybody's got to get one.
It happens.
Jeff, if you get a chance, go check out Jake's reptile, his business page, and check out the blonde anthrax that he made.
That would be
it's awesome. I can't wait till it gets darker, and that's gonna be some cool shit, definitely.
Yeah, so. I think that could definitely be cool blonde anthrax. Yeah, I got to go to Nerd back in the day when anthrax was there, and the original OGS before that ever proved out. I saw the first golden child that was named the golden child with poison ivy before she subsequently laid a clutch later that year. So that was a big deal going to Nerd back then.
Yeah.
Kevin just texted me.
Uh-oh. Hi, Kev.
Yep. It's so cool. There's so much stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've forgotten, all kinds of stuff. You've been part. I mean, this is literally retic history right here.
I just remember random shit and oh, hey, no, that was 15 years ago. Holy crap.
You're the guy I think the next time we do this, and you're on here, I'm going to be drinking. I have the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of stuff that I just don't remember. But when
alcohol triggers you to remember things,
man, I'm telling you, man,
that's weird.
It's the God's honest truth, man. When I start drinking, everything just comes back.
When James talks to me late at night, he starts telling me these stories, and he's like, "I remember this." Oh, yeah. I'm like, and then the next day, I don't remember what we talked about.
So, yeah.
Well, it's about an hour and a half in. I know we all got stuff to do. I think we should plan on a pretty good lengthy podcast with Jeff and go a little bit more in depth with him. And
I'm sorry I ruined your stream.
We got one more question. I'll answer. Well, I'll answer for me. No, I don't have anything in incubator. All of my animals, I basically have started over. All my animals died in an accident. So I basically have started over from scratch when it comes to retics. So as of now, I do not have anything in the incubator. I can't speak for these other guys. And well, I mean, Jeff has already been stated, you know, he works with ball pythons now at Mike's place. So
I have a few of my own, but I have one adult pair of ball pythons, and I have a few jungle carpets, and I've got on loan from a friend a pair of rough scale pythons. Those are kind of cool.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, most of my breeding efforts are at work. Though I do plan on having a small group of animals at my home. Probably won't be a retic anytime soon, unless I make that trip over to Bob's and snag one of the jaguars that, you know, he's likely going to have in the spring here. Maybe not. Maybe next spring. I don't know. Kind of talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
I miss it. I do, and then I don't.
Yeah.
I do love them. They're great animals for the right people. They really are.
But when you take care of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a day, 24 hours, 6 days a week,
it honestly jades you. It really does. Yeah. I do love retics, but I cared so much about them early on and was just like immersed in retics damn near all day for 7 years and not upset about it. But like, I learned a lot. I learned a tremendous amount from Bob. He's an incredible wealth of knowledge in many regards, not just snakes. He's an extremely intelligent man about just kind of worldly stuff. But
he's also one of the very few people that's a herpetologist. So
yeah, he's actually a legit herpetologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that retics aren't for everybody, and not even me sometimes, you know.
That's a good place to stop.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. This is kind of a surprise, man. Thank you for coming on, Jeff. We didn't figure we were going to do something some other time, so this was kind of cool that you decided to pop in.
Yeah, I told Chip, like, I'm kind of a bitch about, like, you know, wanting like a day in advance notice, and like today was a bad day at Wilbanks Inc. and just I was in a piss poor mood, and I ate my food and I thought, I feel slightly better. I'm gonna see if I can. If I decided if I could figure out how to get into the stream by myself, I would do it. And if I didn't figure it out, then okay, I'll do it next time. So, but I figured it out because it's pretty easy. And here we are, an hour and a half later.
Yeah, well, still appreciate it, bud.
Man. I love you guys, and I'm down for future podcasts. Please give me a day's notice. That'd be super.
Yes, we will. We plan on doing a really good in-depth podcast. It won't be a live. It will be a podcast that we post.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody that's watching, whatnot, please hit the like button. Subscribe, hit the bell.
Subscribe, share, join US ARC. We need everybody in US ARC right now more than ever. Not just for big snakes, for all snakes, reptiles. Phil Goss is our guy. He's taking care of us, and we gotta take care of them.
Definitely. Thanks for all the support, and man, everybody have a good night.
See you, brothers.
Guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.